type passing shot off of the return of serve is to run around and hit forehands. And, of course, Stan wants to try to, early in the match, show him that he's not afraid to take a second serve and throw it into the forehand corner and catch John going the other way. Well, looks like the boys are satisfied. Nope, Stan says, I'm not quite ready. And here comes, I guess, the last practice. And Johnny Newcombe takes up his stance.
Play. Quiet, please. Love 15. All.
And if that delicate half volley from Newcombe is any test of nerves, John must be in good shape. That really takes some doing, that shot so early in a match.
(30-15).
One of the backhand volleys from Newcombe there that helped to destroy Kenny Rosewall. Deep, accurate, fast, great stroke.
Second service. (40-30).
Certainly the challenger, as it were, for the title, in good form in the cross-court return of service.
Game to Newcombe. First game, first set.
It seems to me both boys should be very pleased with that opening game, although Stan naturally would have liked to have broken serve, but he hit his forehand twice for placements, and he returned all serves except the one. And, of course, that half volley that Johnny Newcombe played at Love 15 was a masterful but gambling-type stroke. So, just as we have felt about these men, they love competition, and if you're a competitor and you're in the game of tennis, this is where you really must love it the most. So now Stan Smith, who elected to have John Newcombe face that first serve in the sun, and we have a little bit of a bright sun today, enough of a haze maybe to keep it from being absolutely in the clear, that is the sun, but it's going to cause the boys a little problem. Smith to serve.
Love 15. 15 all. Thirty 15.
Stan Smith serving very strong, confident, deep service to the Newcombe backhand.
All.
First double fault of the match.
Thirty 40.
Stan Smith, under the pressure of the break point there, plays a really lovely wide low volley.
Advantage Smith.
Next.
First service. Game to Smith. 1 game all, first set.
Well, although John didn't break the service, it is always confidence building when you get within a break point. So good start by both men holding their serves.
Love. Love.
Well, you don't make angled volleys like that, acutely as that, unless you're very full of confidence.
Love. Game for Newcombe. 2 games to 1. Newcombe leads first set.
Another fine service game by John Newcombe, but in that particular game we saw some excellent tennis. We saw the speed of Stan Smith and getting a couple of shots as the point started out. A fine serve down the middle, half volleyed by John. Stan had a pretty good chance here at a passing shot. He elected to go cross court, and John was anticipating it. There's a half volley, which really showed some good movement by the big kid Smith. And then he comes in and looks like he's got a good shot, but the long arm of Newcombe was just too far out there for him. And we're going to see an awful lot of points like that. I'm certain the thing that has impressed me so far is that Stan Smith, in serving his game, elected to play practically every serve except one into the backhand court. He wants to get to the backhand of John Newcombe. On the other side, Johnny, who's had two good Smith forehands go by him for return of serve placement so far, he mixed him up real well. In fact, he served 3 to the forehand of Smith and got 2 airs. So John is swinging his serve back and forth. He apparently feels that Stan's backhand and forehand are about equal in strength. 1-2, Smith to serve once again.
Love. All.
Well, not significant yet, of course, but it is his second double fault, Smith.
$30-15. $40-15. Game to Smith, 2 games all, first set.
So the previous game to John Newcombe to love, this one to Smith to 15. Interesting that John Newcombe had a couple of shots that were just clipping the top of the tape, finding his range, getting his touch. He lost the 2 points, but they were good range-finding shots.
Love. First service. Love.
Well, one sees the quality of Newcombe's volley there. A dipping ball, a nasty one from Smith, but John getting the half-court angle. Smith actually playing that one just outside the doubles line.
Net.
First service. Love. Game for Newcombe. Newcombe leads 3-2, first set.
And let's take a look at the people who are really feeling almost the strain that the
Attention,
boys in the
please.
court. In the front
Attention,
row
please.
of the players section there, the lady with the dark glasses in the second row there. That's Mrs. Smith, Stan Smith's mom on the left. I don't know the young lady in the middle, but next to her in the striped shirt is Dad Smith, Stan's father. Jerry Williams is in the back row there, and next to Jerry is Angie Newcombe. That's John's charming wife. And the lady shading her eyes from the sun, we can't see her very well, is John's mother-in-law. So all the pressure may be down on the court, according to most people, but up there, they're going through some kind of torture themselves. And back to the court action, John Newcombe held serve very nicely. There you see him testing his topspin lob off the forehand. Sometime he's going to get a chance to bring Stan in close and try to use that shot. So it's 2-3 now. Smith to serve once again.
Love 15.
John Newcombe certainly outsmarting Smith there. Stan really didn't know where that one was going.
Net.
First service. Love 30.
Well, a loose volley, that. Respectable return of service by John, but not the sort of ball that ought to force an error.
(15-30). (15-40). (30-40).
So from 15-40 back to deuce.
Advantage Smith.
And you can miss the forehand passing shot down the line, but he's always a danger when he's under pressure like that. He quickly counterattacks from defense to attack.
Hughes. Advantage Newcombe.
John Newcombe striking a fine patch of service returns.
to Newcombe. Newcombe leads 4-2, first set.
Clearly, John deserved to break that serve. He played every return very nicely. I'm just wondering if that last ball that Stan hit might not have dropped in the alley. A little nervous on Stan in that game. He misplayed 2 easy volleys. So the first break goes to John. He now leads 4-2.
Love. Love. Oh. 30-15.
One might say that that's the first unforced volleying error from Newcombe. Fast return of service, as one would expect from a hard hitter like Smith, but the ball high over the net.
Two balls clear. Game to Newcombe. 5-2. Newcombe leads first set.
So a fine run of 3 games for Newcombe to go from 2-all to 5-2, including, of course, the break of service. Perhaps what is becoming significant at the moment is that Newcombe in his last 3 service games has won 2 of them to love, and he only dropped 1 point in that last service game. Looks as though Stan's having a bit of trouble with the service return, Jack.
Yes, and I think the court's playing a little quicker and truer than it has the last 4 or 5 days. Yesterday, and particularly in the men's doubles, they were getting all sorts of bad bounces, and we're not seeing them so far today. Stan apparently is trying in the early going, Dan, to use his overspin drive on the backhand, hoping to get it into a groove because it's an offensive shot. But I think he'll probably find out that in the main, against the good deep serving, that if he'll try to block the first one back low and go for a topspin passing shot, and I'm sure he's going to have to open up that court a little by lobbing because John's getting in awfully close. But Newcombe really, the first 7 games, tremendous. It's 2-5, new balls. Smith trying to save this first set.
Love.
So for the second time in the match, John Newcombe has outguessed and outwitted Stan Smith there with that little angle.
(30-15). 40-15. Game to Smith. Newcombe leads 5-3, first set.
So now down comes the test. So Stan Smith, as John Newcombe takes his time about coming up to the line, always a deliberate server, but not a slow one. John steadies himself, takes aim, and away he goes.
Love 15. Oh. 15 all. Thirty 15.
So that second consecutive brilliant half volley from John Newcombe, putting Smith in great trouble, gives the holder of the title 2 set points.
Let's. First service. Let's. First service. Game and first set to Newcombe, 6-3.
In 25 minutes then, set to Newcombe.
So John Newcombe clearly the best of the two in the opening going here. He's held every serve, although in that last game Stan Smith's good backhand got into play twice after a very fine starting winning point off of a passing shot, but John Newcombe came up with 2 brilliant half volleys to save his service. The Smith Hooters, I should say, shouldn't be too alarmed outside of the couple of volleys that he missed in the service game that he lost. He's played fairly well, and he'll dig in a little harder. I think he'll have to start mixing up his serves a little bit, serving more first balls to the forehand of Newcombe. Newcombe's sort of getting grooved on the backhand. He's played 2 very fine down-the-line shots for placements off the backhand. And against fellows who really hit the ball hard on the return, it's very dangerous to groove yourself in your thinking to play it to the same position, because they'll zero in on you and make those good passing shots. Interesting thing is that the money's not mentioned here very often in the tournament. The winner gets 3,750 pounds, the runner-up 2,250 pounds, but they tell me there's about another 25,000 pounds riding on endorsements to the winner of this tournament. So they're playing for an awful lot. Stan Smith opens the second set.
Love. 15 all. Fifteen 30. All. Thirty 40.
Well, it may have been a bad bounce, the Jack, that one, but I think possibly John seemed to be looking up very early. He seemed to very much have his eye on Smith. Relief for Smith, but good judgment. I think he always knew it was going out, really.
Game to Smith. First game, second set.
Jack, I do have a sort of feeling that Smith might have welcomed firmer opposition after the quarterfinals. He dropped a set to Emerson in the quarters, and then he had a couple of easy matches.
Yes, his match against Perun didn't really give him too much, and then unfortunately for Tommy Gorman and all of us, Stan didn't get the workout that he, I think, needed on Thursday. But he's awfully fit in other ways. He really takes care of himself. And I think he's one of our strongest players we have in the tournament. But looking at his opponent, John Newcombe, I've always considered that the reason he's been successful here, winning twice, being runner-up once, is that mentally and physically, he's a stayer. And this tournament is built for the stayers. You've got to go the full fortnight, keeping yourself physically and mentally up right on your toes, and John seems to be able to do it. I guess John suffers a little bit from the high pollen count that apparently is in the air all over London. Anybody with hay fever must be feeling pretty poor out there today. All right, John Newcombe won the first set 6-3. It's love 1, second set.
Love. Love.
John's waiting for a call, but I'm afraid it's not going to come. The back edge of the line.
15. 40-30.
Well, that's the world-class way of passing world-class volleys. You've got to get in there sometimes and confidently take the initiative away from them by volleying them. Good play by Smith there. Just too much.
Game to Newcombe. 1 game all, second set.
And in those 6 points that were played, John Newcombe had his first service in 5 times.
Net.
Love 15.
Third double fault from Smith. His opponent hasn't served any yet.
All.
Net.
First service. Fifteen 30. All. Forty 30. Game to Smith. Smith leads 2 games to 1, second set.
Well, stand behind 15-30 there, and a good backhand down the line might have put him into some trouble. And he is having certainly more difficulty in waltzing through his serve. But when you can see that when he gets the big one in, the fast one, why, John's very fortunate to get his racket on it, let alone do too much on the return. Interesting to me, Dan, they've played 12 games, and I don't believe Stan Smith, unless I've forgotten, has thrown up 1 lob. That he's continually trying to do the job with 2 ground strokes, 1 at the feet to get a half volley, which John is handling very nicely, and too few passing shots are getting by John. Now, a lob against men who hit overheads like these fellows, you don't expect to win too many points off of them, but what you do is drive them a little bit back from the net, opening up some opportunities for your passing shots. Of course, if you make a deep enough lob, why, you can get it over your opponent's head and perhaps get in on the offensive and win the point that way. John Newcombe, who has been to deuce only once on his serve, behind 1-2, ready to serve.
15 love. 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 $40-15. Game to Newcombe. 2 games all, second set.
And John Newcombe again giving a great display of getting the first service in. And it does seem now as though Smith is beginning to worry a little bit about getting this heavy Newcombe service back. 2-all win. Second set, first set Newcombe 6-3.
First service. $15 love. $15-all.
Millimetre accuracy from Newcombe down the line with a service that was awfully well placed, right deep in the corner.
$30-15. $30-all.
I wonder if that was a question of he who hesitates is lost.
$40-30. Hughes.
Well, perhaps John Newcombe a little bit lucky to get away with that, as he was presented with that gift point by Stan Smith right on the net and on the forehand volley. Fine, strong, deep second serve too from Stan Smith.
Advantage Smith. Hughes.
Usually, of course, one of the great strengths of Smith is the volley behind this big service.
Advantage, Smith. Game to Smith. Smith leads 3 games to 2, second set.
Well, with Stan making an
First
error or
set to
two
Newcombe.
and John Newcombe making a backhand passing shot, at least in each of the service games, while Stan's having much the greater difficulty in holding. Thinking of John Newcombe, who's just bolting along here on serve. I don't think he's lost a serve all week. As a matter of fact, I know he didn't lose one in his quarterfinal match against Colin Dibley, nor his semifinal match against Ken Rosewall, which against Rosewall is miraculous. He held every serve that he played, 10 of them in all. So it looks to me like the Russian Metravelli was the last man to break John Newcombe's serve, and that must have been in the 3rd set of their match, and that was a week ago Friday. So that might be a record of some sort here for John Newcombe. And the reason is, of course, the tremendous depth. I know you can see that all of his serves are landing 6 to 8 inches inside the service line. He's not going for too many aces. He's catching Smith looking the other way a few times, that is to say, serving wide to the forehand and getting errors, but mainly he's getting the success out of depth with control spin. All right, 2-3, Newcombe going once again.
Love. Love. Love.
Let's go.
Game to Newcombe. 3 games all, second set.
Well, at the moment, in the calmest and most clinical, professional way, John Newcombe gives me the impression that he's keeping a very firm grip on affairs out here on the centre court. Nothing extravagant, absolutely first-class, watertight match-winning play. So Smith has got to make a breakthrough somewhere.
Love.
Ball.
Love.
Ball.
$30-15. 30 all.
Well, I think that shows why Stan Smith has served 3 double faults. Anything short of a length, anything that John Newcombe can get round and play on his forehand instead of his backhand, not that there's much difference between the strength of the 2 strokes, he's going to be really punished by John.
Home.
Stan Smith went for the bait. John Newcombe was deliberately leaving open that wide forehand area, hoping that if Stan went for it, he might pull it in the alley for a double.
Let's.
First service. New ball clear. Game to Smith. Smith leads 4-3, second set.
I think you might have noticed back after John held his serve that he was going through some practice strokes, following through particularly on the backhand. Apparently he does this now, and I think it comes to mind that John Newcombe, after turning professional, he had won in '67 here, the last amateur Wimbledon, and in '68 he wasn't really doing too well with the professionals. His game wasn't as solid as he thought, and the Progressive French Association decided to hire a good player to help their junior programs, particularly their very fine Davis Cup potential squad. And John took the job, and he learned an awful lot about tennis. He likes to relate that in trying to help other kids with their problems, technically, why he related to his own stroke problems, and that he's built up gradually more confidence and control in the forehand and backhand particularly. He always had the great serve, volley, and overhead, of course. And he's parlayed that knowledge into a very, very nice tennis ranch in America where either adults or kids alike can go and spend 3 to 4 days or 3 weeks if they want and get the John Newcombe method of how to play tennis. And apparently it's helped his game as well, because he looks like he is better this year than he was last year. So with new balls, trailing 3-4 the second set, Newcombe ready to serve.
Love 15.
A bold gamble there. Enterprising footwork by Stan Smith. Enterprising thinking, getting around a ball that was directed right onto his backhand to make that slightly lucky forehand.
All. .30, 15. .15.
Well, it might have been a slightly untrue bounce, but Stan was taking a terrific risk. He'd gone 4 feet inside the line to take that one. It was straining his reflexes a bit, I think.
games all, second set.
This is the first time that Stan Smith has had to play a seeded player in this championship. The others in his half, all having been knocked out: Drysdale, Ash and Laver.
Love 15. Love 30.
That could well be a very expensive miss for Stan Smith. 4-all second set.
What
a wonderful sequence of shots from Newcombe. Service return, topspin, lob back and pass down the line. Great stuff by the Australian.
.40.
Close one there for Stan Smith. That would be an awkward half volley, but you can see how keyed up John Newcombe is, the way he jumped after he just clipped the top of the net on the forehand return of service.
Advantage Newcombe. Hughes. Advantage Smith.
Much more likely, typical Smith forehand volley from below the height of the net, playing it out to the backhand with a touch of underslice, making the ball die and curl away a bit.
Game to Smith. Smith leads 5 games to 4, second set.
Well, a fine pull-out by Stan Smith, and let's take a look at a point early in that game, which almost put Stan in great jeopardy of losing his serve. As Stan comes in, a little late getting there, we're going to see a top-spin lob by John Newcombe. He's been waiting for that, and you'll notice that Smith couldn't hardly hit it too hard. Lucky to get to it. It was going fast, but watch that backhand, down the line and inside. Stan went on to become 15-40 down, and once again later on advantage out. So potential set point saved by Stan Smith, and that may be a pretty good omen. If you can pull out a couple of games like that, strengthens your feeling that you're going to hold your serve, and your opponent somewhat gets a little disconcerted over the fact that he's not able to get that vital breakthrough point. But John Newcombe so far has just showed us why it's quite possible that he has ascended to the #1 player of the world category instead of Rod. In his own league, he's won more tournaments than Rod Laver in the World Championship Tennis League. And his play against Rosewald on Thursday and so far today, he just couldn't ask for more. He's got it all. All right. John Newcombe has faced a lot of pressure so far in the match, but this is his greatest test as he serves for the first time to save a set.
Love 15. Love 13. .30.
Little light relief. John not smashing the ball with the angle that Smith expected, and of course Smith overrunning the ball. John Newcombe still being threatened here. 15-30.
Net.
First service. all.
Let's go.
30-40.
So with that double fault, Stan Smith stands with a tremendous chance here to make it one set all. Newcombe's first double fault.
Quiet, please. Cheers. Advantage, Newcombe. Game to to Newcombe. 5 games all, second set.
What an object lesson by the champion Newcombe. When standing there, set point down, he gets 3 first services in to pull the game out of the fire. So chance gone then for Stan Smith. 5-all, second set. First set, Newcombe 6-3.
Love.
Yeah.
15 all. Fifteen 30. All.
That Smith smash off the bouncing lob puts our commentator's box under bombardment. Five all, 30 all, second set. And that's the sort of rally play we get and the excitement we get when both men are at their best at the same time. That was a glorious mix-up there. Lovely volleying stuff.
Smith. 6 games to 5. Smith leads second set.
Well, scoreboard didn't want to give Stan that game for a while, but eventually they did. Let's go back to that 30-all point where we really saw perhaps the most competitive of all points so far, as John Newcombe trying to get the forehand by Stan. A let ball comes up. Stan thinks he has John fooled, but there goes the topspin lob that Stan's basketball agility got to. Here's a nice cross court, and they're up to the net with each other, and there's the winner, and John goes down. And that was some point. The interesting thing for Stan, I guess for all of us, is the fact that after that long point, Stan got back there ready to serve immediately, and John Newcombe took himself about a 10-second break, as he'd done all the running, and he naturally needed to get the wind back to his liking. That's just another way of using experience, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that ever. But that was a very nice service game held by Stan. John Newcombe, who on his last serve was down a point set, he served his first double finally. Stan, I believe, has served 3. There have been a couple of games where John Newcombe's been in any trouble whatsoever, as no matter what Smith seems to come up with, why, Newcombe has the volley or half-volley answer. But Stan's best attempts have been to get around and hit forehands, and if he can get John to miss his first serve, I expect we'll see him do that. Second time now, Newcombe serving to save the second set. He won the first one 6-3.
Love. Love.
Stan Smith giving us two forehand there, reminiscent of the two lovely ones he made in the opening game of the match. Two glorious forehand pass there. John, I would think, must have been very conscious of the fact that Stan Smith might have gone round on his forehand anything short of a length on that second serve. In. So it's set point for the second time for Stan Smith.
Let.
Second service.